Chapter 9 bodies, civil society organizations and legal partners have briefed the media on the progress being made regarding the upcoming case of Caster Semenya at the European Court of Human Rights. SABC News reporter Canny Maphanga was attending that briefing and is standing by now. Very good afternoon, Canny. Tell us more.
Well, good afternoon to you and to the viewers at home. We've just concluded a briefing with Olympic champion Caster Semenya, who's really spelled out the battle that she'll be going ahead with the European Court of Human Rights, where she'll face off with an entire state of Switzerland to challenge those regulations that briefly halted her career. Now, when we speak of human rights, we never really take into consideration the world of sports and how human rights can be infringed on there. When we've seen South Africa on the global stage, we've commented on war and genocide, but here is Caster Semenya now leading the charge on this issue of sports and world bodies that are allowed to come up with these different rules and regulations, and they remain almost unchallenged until now that Caster Semenya has now been brought to the floor to challenge those regulations that directly halted her career, that we saw her enter the global stage and become a world champion on behalf of South Africa. And now we've seen that career come to almost a halt, Caster Semenya. Can you talk to us about this significance of you heading to this world court to ensure that those coming after you can now compete on the stage internationally?
No, thank you for having me. I think it's very important as an individual to know, the basic rights. I think that's what we've been missing, throughout the years. These young athletes, they don't really understand, what they're getting themselves into. We as, the elders, that's what I can say at the moment, because I've been facing, the scrutiny for many years. The importance about this case, I think, is to make sure that young, African girls and young Asian girls that are affected by this ruling, they understand, their basic rights, their human rights. They know, what they're doing, where they're going, because the right, to, delayed to compete, you are denied, to compete. So we just want to make sure that, they are protected. We make sure that they are in a safe place to know that when they do sports, they are safe. But if we don't do that, we are killing, especially women's sports, because as individuals, we know that we are different. We have our differences in our bodies. We come from different, countries, it may be continents. But we have to remind, the sports, governing bodies to say, if we say sports is for all, we should mean it. And this is a true significant, sign of it to say, look, as an individual, if I can, challenge this, it's just to make sure that those young girls, they come and voice out and, they get passion for sports. But if you don't do it, then it becomes a problem.
Despite your victory in your discrimination case, which essentially upheld international law, World Athletics still continues with these regulations not being amended. Is it not a concern that you now have to face off with these big international bodies and even a state of the government of Switzerland in order to ensure that those after you can compete?
Yeah, of course. Like I said before, I always emphasize more on making sure that all these leaders understand their roles. Of course, going to the courts is just to make sure that, human rights, they are put first. Human dignity is being put first. People need to be respected, regardless of their differences. But as much as, the late Nelson Mandela said, sports has got the right to unite people. It has got the power to change the world. At the moment, what I'm seeing is the opposite side of it. It goes to all these governing bodies, maybe FIFA, it may be, FINA, it may be, SASCOC, it may be, IOC and everything, Olympic, committees. They need to understand that before we can regulate, we need to put, human rights first. And that's what we are doing now, in the high chamber, in this high courts, to make sure that human rights are put first, athletes are respected, athletes need to, feel safe. They are not violated, they are not judged, they are not criticized. So it's our job, as organizations or as leaders to protect our own. As much as we take on this job to say we put our athletes first, and we need to act like ones.
And lastly, I know you said you've achieved all you can achieve in the world of sports, but I'm sure South Africans are all wondering, should you be successful at the Grand Chamber, can we expect one last round on the track, one last gold medal for South Africa?
Definitely, yes. If this is a victory, it means it's a victory, for South Africa. It's a victory for Africa. You have to understand that I'm capable of doing great. I'm capable of winning. As an athlete, I'm still young. I still feel young. Anyway, I still had about 10 years still in this sports. So 5 years, I'll say, still come. Yeah. So of course, it will be that one we say. Of course, it will be a last dance if we win this one.
So medals not off the cards.
No, of course, maybe 2 gold medals, maybe 4. We don't know. So.
Thank you so much, Caster Semenya, for your time. The journey isn't over yet as she heads over to the European Court of Human Rights to defend international law in sports. Over to you in studio.
Canny Maphanga reporting there.